like Brutus.
And we're live.
And we're live. You know, Pastor Nick and Sister LaBoo, they love getting us when we're like, you know, not paying attention and saying some things. To press that live button, you know. And we're live, people. No, but you know what time it is, Bethany family. It's Monday, 5:30. So you know what time it is. It's time for the recap. Oh, and we got Sister Des to say some recap. Okay, let them use you. But no, it is time for a recap. The recap service that we had yesterday, our encounter services with Bishop David G. Evans. As you guys can see, I have the whole recap family here with me. So you already know it's going to be a great discussion. I have Reverend Valders, or, you know, the one that drops the nuggets and you can top everything off. Reverend Valders.
I don't know what you're talking
about. Also, we have the deacon. If you don't know the deacon, I don't know who you're missing out. It's Deacon McGee, Deacon Antoine McGee up here, drops his nuggets as well. Also, we have our amazing social media director at the bottom, Sister Maya LaBoo, also that Maximize Monday.
Yes,
Maya, right?
Maximizing
that Monday.
And then we have, you know, our yoga queen, shade queen as well. You know, she wears her title well. Sister Des, my good sis, Sister Des. Love you, Des.
Hi, guys. Hey, guys.
And I am Brother Kevin, and this is the recap family. But like I always do, before we start any type of discussion, I always love to see how my recap family's doing. So how are we feeling today, recap fam? How was your weekend? What's going on? What's new with you guys?
Listen, don't try to minimize. Kev is like the greatest MC of all time.
Oh my God! Absolutely.
Thank you.
Give him his, you know,
King moderator over there.
Oh, thank you. I tried.
Yeah, he's the best MC of all time.
Thank you, Rev. I love that energy. That's what gets me going all week. It's the recap family that does it for me each week. I love you guys. But how was your weekend, y'all?
It was good. It was really good. Yeah. Good. I decluttered a bunch of stuff. So letting go.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. So you're ready for today's discussion.
Listen, Service read me like he was really in my business.
Okay. You know, we had an amazing Saturday drive-in service with another amazing word. You know, even though it was cold out there, Bishop's word was keeping us heated up out there. You know, kept us warm out there, right?
Yeah.
And then also we had that amazing emergent worship service. I'm loving emergent worship. I'm loving it. And then also our encounter services as well, right? So before we get started, all those that are tuning in, all those that are sharing with us, we encourage you guys to post your questions, post your comments as well, because like I say, each and every week, this discussion is only as good as you make it. So we want to hear from you in the comments. We want to answer your questions. And not only that, we want you to shout out where you're tuning in from. We have people all across the world. So, you know, we want to take this moment right now. I got to get on myself to see who's tuning in with us and saying hi. Who's
here? Sandra, Miss Roman.
Okay.
Latrice from Cali. Hey, how you doing?
Awesome.
Hi, guys.
Cool. I see you guys. These
guys, there are 6 members of the recap team.
Oh, our 6th member is that
Ava? All of them.
Right.
I thought we were identifying one.
But no, we are so happy that you guys are tuning in. Thank you guys each and every week for tuning and staying faithful with us. It's always a great feeling to hear from you guys and stay connected with you guys during this time as well. It's so important. So we want you guys to, as long as you guys are comment, we also want you guys to share it, because like we say every time, hey Dana, good evening. We say every time, you know, Facebook, that timeline is kind of out of order sometimes. So sometimes people miss lives, or people may not be subscribed or likes our page. So they miss us when we go live. So if you share it, then they'll be able to see it. So the more shares we get, the more people we get out there, and the more people, more lives you guys are saving, right? So you guys are doing your God's given work by sharing.
Yes.
Who else do we have? I'm sorry.
Autumn Wilson.
Hi, Autumn.
Stephanie West.
Stephanie.
Martina Wade.
Awesome. So guys, please share and comment. All right. So let's jump into this recap for Sunday service.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
I'm not even ready for you, Kevin.
I'm not ready for myself. I'm really leaning on the audience today. So Bishop continued in this sermon, letting go of toxic people, but he titled this particular weekend "The Wrong Spirit," right? He came out of the book of 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 34, right? So before we get into anything, what were your initial thoughts of this new installment of this sermon recap, fam?
Yeah, that about sums it up.
He left you with a question mark, like what? To the wrong spirit, like okay,
right?
People with the wrong spirit. Okay, I can kind of get it, but where are we going with this?
Right.
So, where are we going with this?
So let me ask you guys, because he did title it "The Wrong Spirit." So before we get into the discussion, we're talking about toxic people, right? So do you believe that someone can have a good heart, but their spirit is toxic?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how would you, let me ask you, this is one of my questions. This is coming off the noggin, guys.
Wow.
But how do you, what advice would you give someone that's dealing with a person that has a good heart, but they just have a toxic spirit?
I think, this goes back to what we were talking about last week about being able to forgive, because all of us are toxic in some shape, way, form, right? Yep. So I think being able to forgive and understand that there's room for transformation for everyone, and that is a process, and to go from there. It's it's easier to let somebody go when it's coming from the wrong place, like they're mean-spirited. But when it's someone that has a good heart, I feel like there should be some leeway.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even want to believe that they're toxic. It's like, not you. So
right. Maybe that's why some of us, it's hard to let some people go, because we are in that disbelief stage, like, oh my gosh, no, this can't be you. I don't see it. I don't see what they're talking
You're
about.
Not hurting me. No.
You're not hurting me.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear,
no,
there has to be a cap.
Yes, there's a threshold. There's a threshold. Yeah. Definitely a threshold, but you can't get suckered in, because it's like, you have a better heart than this.
Yeah.
And I know you do, but can you get past this thing? Can you get past this toxic thing that you have about yourself? And you pray they do, and they can listen to you when you tell them, like, yo, this is not going to work, but you just don't know. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes them longer. Yeah. Sometimes you see them a few years later and they're past it, but right then and there, they just, you just can't get past it.
So with this whole sermon, these last 3 weeks, we've been talking about toxic people, and like Sister Maya brought up a great point that, we have toxic traits ourselves. So this is just for clarification. So with having toxicity, is it something that we can outgrow, but also adopt from other people and other situations throughout our life?
Yeah. Because you're not born toxic. It's a learned, picked up behavior.
Right.
Sometimes it's the effect of you being hurt. And instead of getting healing, you become toxic. It's almost like an infected cut. And then it is something you can grow out of, because everyone's capable of change by the power of the Holy Spirit. You know, and if you decide that you want to change, that's the thing. Most toxic people, one, they don't know, and then two, they have to make the decision to change.
Right. Thank you. And that's the reason why I wanted to ask that question, because, you know, some people be like, oh my gosh, you were just born mean, or you were, and it's just like, no, it's by, you know, what you're exposed to. And, you know, sometimes people have a rough childhood, or they may be going through something in their life right now that makes them, you know, adopt some toxic traits where, you know, they may be going through a sad period in life where they just are just internally and externally miserable, and they don't know how to show that love to the next person or be that love for that next person. So, Deacon Antoine, I think you hit the nail right on the head by answering it like that. Then anyone else want to add to it before we get into this discussion? Good. Okay.
I think you did a good job.
Okay, so in this series of letting go of toxic people, for this week's message, Bishop titled it "The Wrong Spirit." When we talk about letting go of toxic people, Bishop wants us to understand that the spirit of toxic people. He stated that they are normally rather shameless, and at times they are morally unrestrained and are always apologizing. Toxic people look for understanding for things that they exhibit that they are not sorry for until the damage or the reaction of another than the one that they anticipated is revealed. Toxic people are very hard to reason with and very hard to suggest to. Toxic people are emotionally dominant individuals because they believe if they dominate you emotionally, you will come under their control or adopt their beliefs. In some situations, a toxic individual tries to use your authority to get what they want. They don't want you. They want what you have the authority to produce. Toxic people like Jezebel are controlling people that they are not averse to using any means to get their way. Some will say anything, do anything, but as long as they get their way, toxic people do not think about consequences. They just think about desires. You will notice someone that is toxic is attention seeking. So, panel, let me ask this question. How do we disconnect ourselves from people that are dominating our feelings?
That's a very loaded question. Oh, God.
We have nothing but time.
Dominating our feelings.
Because, you know, and they could be in friendship, they can be in intimate relationships, they could be family members. But sometimes I feel like, and, you know, I'm speaking for myself, and let me put this disclaimer out there. You know, we ask these questions and we answer these questions, not saying that we have it all together, we have all the answers. You know, it's a learning process for us as well. So, you know, we all may be experiencing as well. Like, I'll say to myself, like, there have been times in my life where I allow people to, you know, dominate my feelings and make me feel a certain way. Right. So I want to ask you guys, how, if you did experience that, how did you disconnect yourselves from allowing people to dominate your feelings?
Well, I think Bishop talked about it during 10 Times Better last night during the post. I think it was a post discussion, but it was actually in the segment itself. It's about standards, you know, what you will and will not allow, you know, in life, you know, and then also recognizing what's draining you and what's fueling you. You know, you can have a great, you know, attitude, you know, great outlook on your day. As soon as that person calls, as soon as that person comes into your presence, when they leave you drained. Because they're robbing you, you know, of your emotions. So then you have to assess after that, for me at least, okay, what are my standards? Am I going to allow someone to be in my presence that's going to continually take from me? Or am I going to have someone in my presence that I can grow with, and it's a 50-50 give or take relationship? And then from there, you know, that's how you kind of, you know, balance it out. And then sometimes, as Miss Roman said, you got to kick him out.
Yep. To the left.
And Jezebel is dominating character anyway. So, you know, looking at her as a dominating character, you don't want that type of person in your life. So basically, you got to show them, like Bishop said, your boundaries. You got to give them your boundaries. And these people, you got to be, you know, got to be straight up with them. I'm not, no punches taken. I'm telling you the truth, and talk to them. Confrontational, let's confront the situation head on, and let's talk about it. And if they want to talk about it, then that's a good thing. If they want to accept it, that's a good thing. But if they don't, yeah, kick them out. Nah, just playing. But be able to talk to them and let them know what our standards are and what our boundaries are.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of us have trouble because we don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's a growth thing. And it took me a minute to learn how to go through that, but I think it's a growth thing to get in that confrontation thing. Right. You're right.
So then let me ask a question.
Oh, go ahead. I like this. Go ahead.
How do we start those steps of growth and being able to have those tough conversations with people?
Personally, and this is my personal thing, I think you start with people that you know first. And this is me talking. But so you can start to feel comfortable with the tight energy of the room. Because you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortableness of the room, because you have to be able to set the boundaries. And to be able to do that, you're going to say some things that's not going to sit right with the opposite person across the room. So in that situation, for me personally, it started with being able to do that with people that are close to me that I know that I should have set boundaries with a long time ago. And so you go ahead and you say what you have to say in a way that you're not trying to cut them, but you're trying to let them know what your boundaries are. And you deal with that situation. You watch their reaction. You know it's going to be an up and down situation. You know it's going to be an emotional conversation, but you want to try to end that conversation with love if possible. But I did let you know what my boundaries are. And I did it in a comfortable environment where now I know what that looks like. And if I have to do it with someone that, not saying it's a stranger, but with somebody else, that a coworker or another loved one or someone else, it'll let me know what that reaction looks like, because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation, but it rides itself out. But you have to be able to do it, especially as you grow up. I put mine away for a long time, and probably till I was close to 30 something, before I really became a little bit more confrontational. But you need that because you have to set boundaries.
To piggyback that, I would also say that there's like a way to be confrontational. So you want to make sure that you're checking in your tone and like you have the proper tools to do it in a healthy manner. So like you're not, confrontation. I think we get fearful of the word confrontation and immediately think fight, and immediately think aggression, immediately think rah, rah, rah. When you can tell someone and confront someone on if they're making you uncomfortable or upset or anything, you can tell there's a way to talk to someone, know?
And if I can add, you want your words to be seasoned with salt. So you want to be able to speak it and be able to share it in a way that can be heard. And that's not getting out of your emotions. That's not, jumping up and shouting, but it's a way that you're basically relaying it. And if you know what you're saying is truthful and what you're saying is right, you don't have to get out of your character of talking. I can talk like this and be able to let you know that I didn't like the way you treated me when you did this. I didn't like the way you did this, and I don't deserve to get treated like this. And I can talk in the same tone and be told you the same just as well without shouting. That way they can hear exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, Sister Maya with the question.
But that's a good question, because I think we all deal with that. I mean, a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people deal with that confrontation thing. They'll rather walk away instead of tell the truth. And that's how these dominant personalities, like a Jezebel, that's how they can override us for so many years. Because we'll walk away and just say, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'd let somebody else deal with it. And never get told the truth from anyone for a long time, and they believe what they've been doing is right. And what they've been doing is right. It's just people didn't confront you about it.
Yeah.
Liars don't like to be confronted.
They don't. They don't at all, because as we learned in the word yesterday, that they don't like what they say to be repeated, because they know it's toxic. They know it's wrong, right? It's misleading. It's not the right information. So we learned that toxic people are essentially liars, and they don't like being confronted.
Yeah.
So the value to the spirit of toxic people is usually in the physical and what will be accomplished. The spirit of a toxic person will not try to turn you against God. They just want to add some idols to your faith process. So I'm not going to turn you against the Lord if I'm toxic, but if I'm a professional toxic person, what I want to do is add some idolatry to your religious beliefs. They want to water down your faith because secretly your devotion to God threatens their control of you. So they are not going to move your worship away from God, but they will move them closer to things they idolize to the point where you ultimately are treating them like they are a God. They want you to be dependent upon them. This is because idols are demanding, and you have never seen an idol in the Bible that was not demanding. So have you ever been in a situation where someone or something wanted to come in between your walk with God? If so, how did you handle that situation or person? Because it doesn't always have to be a person. It could be a situation like job or whatever, right? How did you handle that, especially when it comes to you serving in your ministries and everything?
It happened to me right when I started to get serious about my walk. I had a person I was talking to, and pretty much they gave me an ultimatum, similar to what Bishop said in his message. Like, it's either going to be me or it's going to be your relationship with God. And we had a confrontation. And needless to say, it ended not as peaceably as I wanted it to, but it needed to end. And prior to me, being serious about my walk, I didn't see how toxic the relationship that me and that individual had until I was with the Lord and was like, okay, this is in the way. But the thing was, I was inviting that individual to participate in the change with me, and instead they rejected it.
Wow.
So in that rejection, you gave me my answer. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go this way, you go that way. God bless you, and we'll call it a day.
In Jesus' holy name.
But yeah, that was one of the times, man. It was hard, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your transparency, sir. But anybody else want to add to that? Have you ever been in a situation where someone or something wanted to come in between your walk with God, and how did you handle that situation or person?
I've definitely been in that situation. And before my relationship was strong, actually, I allowed the person to become my God. So it was like for example, if I got a clear message to like go right, I would double check with him and go, hey, you think I should do this thing? Yeah, go left. And I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go left. And like, and like that was the dynamic of our relationship for a long time, where it was like, and like what he said was kind of law without him even like, with that, I guess he knew what he was doing. I was gonna say without him even knowing what he was doing, but he knew like what he was doing. And what's funny is that people will kind of use God against you once they do see the shift. And they do see that you start to like, oh, you're serious about God now, and so what would happen, and I guess like full transparency, like this was a person that like was like in and out of my life in different stages. So they've seen me through the like not so saved days, and then like the 1 foot in, 1 foot out days. And so now like seeing me in the like, oh, you really about it now days, it's like, well, why aren't you like the I knew you when type of thing kind of happens. And so when stuff starts to shift and it goes and the conversation goes without saying choose me or God, you kind of move in that way. Whereas like and we'll say things like, I don't want to, you know, I see what God is doing for you. I'm not trying to mess anything up. But, you know, that but always has little, you know, something to it.
Just in case.
Yeah.
I don't like when people say, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but
Yeah.
you're gonna
I don't mean to be rude, but
I don't
it's like you got to be rude.
I know you go to church in the morning, but you want to go out to about 5 a.m.
Right. So like, you know, people know what they're doing. And to my point I made earlier is like people, or the point that was made earlier, excuse me, where it's like people can have good hearts but not and still be toxic. It's like like he's a great guy, you know, really good guy, like, and is a fellow believer and everything, but still like is not in the same alignment and doesn't have the same. Yeah. To answer your question, yes, I understand. And
no, I think that's hard too, because sometimes we learn that even those that have the same beliefs are not right for us. You know, you know, we have to come to that where is that confrontation with ourselves, that like it's that self-assessment, like, yo, no, no matter how long you try to drag them on, no, right? Yeah. And as we learned in the sermon on Sunday, that toxic people are planners too. So, but let me add a part B to that question, because, you know, sometimes, how can I say this without being mean?
Say
it, Shay.
Just gotta say it now.
Because, you know, sometimes, you know, like we're learning that toxic people, like they like to throw like, you know, curveballs and stuff in your walk with God and everything. But this could also be people within the church too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what, especially like when you are, you know, on track with God, you're on fire with God, you know, you're joining this ministry, you want to do this, you want to do that. There's some people that, you know, kind of don't like that may be in a church, but you would think that will encourage you to do those things, right? So how do we get to past this, guys? How do we understand this? Because I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to learn how to handle it.
The wheat and the tare growing together. So the wheat and the tare are going to be in the field together. So that means wheat out there and there's going to be some tare out there. So there's going to be you know, different people that are at different levels that are trying. Some are growing with good nutrition, good things going on with them, edible qualities. You know, fruits of the spirit that we're talking about, and then some are still not there. It's just not there yet. And like she said, Des was talking about, I mean, the yoke is different. You know, I might be tied a little bit more differently to my Christ, to my God. I'm at a different level, and some are not, and just that's where we're at. You know, they're not there yet, and that's the part of this message that we're dealing with, because a lot of toxic people we know, like we said last week, are saved people. They're believers. They're believers, and they have issues, and so that's where we at. And so this is what we're talking about. And then, and you know, what do you think people should be picking you up all the time? They're pulling you down sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we should be further than this, and you go home like saying, like, we should be further than this, and we're not. We're not. And even the older people, like, could be in their 50s, 60s. I mean, but age doesn't matter.
Age does not matter.
Relationship matters. Age does not matter.
Oh my gosh, that's so true, Rev. That's
I missed it.
It's age. I'm gonna sum it up. Age does not matter.
Relationship matters.
Okay, I got you.
Relationship matters.
Relationship matters. I see your comment, Sister Sarah. Yes, absolutely. Haters are among us.
I was gonna tag team with Rev, but I missed part of his thing. But I was gonna say, like, for me in the church, I've experienced that, and I was very surprised, especially by the person that it came from. And of course, you know, when I have these questions, I wanted to react one way, but I always hear Bishop say, you know, have grace or whatever. And I went to him and was like, such and such said this. And he was like, you'll find out that certain people are intimidated by what you carry.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people want to slow you down so they can catch up. Because they weren't expecting you to spontaneously come out of nowhere and progress. And they've been here longer.
Sounds just like my bishop. Yep.
And they've been here longer, you know.
And they can't catch up. They can't catch up. Go ahead, Des.
Yes.
I just want to say, I think that what we need to like kind of stop doing is expecting people to not be people, even though they're in the church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because I think that's where a lot of the, like, the expectation, and that's where like church hurt comes from and all this other stuff. It's like people are still going to be people. Right. Regardless of the atmosphere that they're in. If you are a shady person, you're still gonna be shady. Like, we're jokingly shady. I mean, like, in a negative way. If you're a shady person, you're gonna be shady regardless. The difference is when we're in the house of God, and when we're around people who we believe are supposed to be in this elevated state. Like Rev said, they're people, like, all of us are works in progress.
Absolutely.
So it's like we can't continue to move, or, you know, like, I've gotten all types of stuff thrown at me, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, I'm not here for you. You can think, feel, say whatever it is that you want to think, feel, or say. And like, and it comes with a growth type of thing, and it comes with talking to God, and it comes with getting your confidence from Him, because I was not at this state where it's like, you know, whatever, you say whatever you need to say, I'm still going to be here, you know, because at one point in time, there was a time where I, you know, somebody would say something to me, and I'm like, that's it, I'm running away, I'm leaving the church, and done, you know what I mean? So, but just like taking that expectancy out, that people are going to be people.
And you said something very important in that statement. You said talking to God. One of the things that helped me was praying a very dangerous prayer. Was like, Lord, you know, help me to love my enemies. Sometimes you don't want to do that.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't want to pray for your enemies.
Sometimes you don't even want to pray for them.
No, right? Not just playing.
Right. You know, and I was like, help me to do it, because I knew myself. And there's another version of Deacon Antoine that if he comes out, everybody's going to be shocked. So I try to keep that person at bay. And, you know, when certain people say certain things, I do the smile and walk. Okay.
That's called growth, when you can just smile and walk and just say, God bless you.
As long as you're not disrespectful. As long as you're not disrespectful, I'm good.
Yeah,
that's so true.
And I think one more thing to add on that, I guess think for millennials, it's really tough as you start to grow and get into more different roles where you're working with some of these people that you've looked up to for a long time. You looked at them one way from a distance, and then you get up close to them, and now you're like, I see a different person. It's almost like, if I can kind of pull it back a little bit, it's almost like you know, looking at some athletes or actors, and you know, the people are talking about, I thought they were so nice, and I went up to get an autograph, and they shoot me off, things like that. It's almost like you looked at them from a distance for so long and kind of looked at them in a certain light, and then you find out more about them. You're like, I didn't know you was like this. And it's a big letdown, because it's like, you might have been in the church for a long, long time. I remember I was growing up in my church for a long time, and I looked at this one deacon in a certain way, and I was like, this guy, he's like, and I couldn't wait for him to train me or, you know, teach me. But he was a terrible attitude, just almost a terrible human being to me when I grew up. But I learned a lot from that being young, because it could have turned me off, and I probably wouldn't want to do nothing else but church. But I learned a lot about expectations of people. It responded. Also, it connected me to the fact of their growth and their level of growth, along with their relationship with Christ. And now I see better that he never really had that much relationship with Christ. I just looked at him in a certain way. And he really grew that much. Now I look at it, but I still looked at him in a certain way.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of those things I was able to tone my expectation, like they say, I was able to revert my expectation of people to the expectation that they have with Christ. And so,
yes.
Well, that's that quote, don't meet your idols because they might disappoint you.
yeah,
But I think in that quote is also the problem is that idol part.
Come on, maximize Ryan.
Bring it around. Bring it around.
Like, we idolize people for whatever reason.
And
no. But we idolize people for whatever reason, and we don't see that they are still human and have flaws, just like we are, you know?
Yes, that's so. Oh my gosh,
that story is so relatable, Pastor.
It's so relatable It's so relatable.
It happens to all of us. Everybody has that story.
What's so hard is that, like Sister Des said, that expectation that you have for church folk. Sometimes that will, not encourage you to want to be in ministries because you're just like, if this person's like that, but we want to tell you guys, not all people are like that. You may come across one person. Do not let that stop you from, because that may intimidate people. They may feel like they don't have that gift for that certain ministry, or they don't need to be a part of that. We don't want you to feel that way. Not all people are like that. But
it's not like that with everybody. No.
It's even that expectation. Go ahead, Sister Des.
Even if it's not just one person, because sometimes it can be like a clique of folks as well. And I see the face, Deacon. I see it because sometimes it's like it can be a group of folks. Those just because that group is doing, acting, and saying, find your own people.
Right.
Yeah. Find your own people.
Yeah. Because you recognize if you was on a job, you wouldn't just walk away from the job because of one person. And so the same way the church, one person, and our church is big enough where you can, like Bishop said, we can move to the other side.
Yeah.
We don't have to see that same person every week. So thank God for, a building that we're able to have a church in that we do have that ability.
Amen.
And even if you're in the same ministry when you have to see those people, just, hey, how you doing? Cordial, and move on.
Keep it going.
Well,
that's all I like. that church one. Like, just
listen, because you gotta move.
So toxic individuals are demanding, and they are influenced by the demonic. They have a disposition and they have an influence that causes division among people. A toxic person is not satisfied until either through the disposition, which you know about, and their influence, which you may have been affected by, causes division among people who do not respect them in their toxicity. They are crafty, cunning, deceptive, and they usually are seductive, just as Jezebel. And since it is a spirit, it can be a male or a female. So let me ask you guys, what were your thoughts of toxic people being influenced by the demonic?
Well, I mean, that makes sense because what does the devil do? Steal, kills, and destroys. So somebody who is supposed to be, who's coming in as a toxic vibe and a toxic energy, they're trying to steal your joy. They're trying to steal your happiness. They're trying to steal your peace. They're trying to steal whatever is supposed to be coming to you, your blessings. They're trying to get in the way of that. So it makes sense that that would be a demonic spirit trying to take you away from everything that you're supposed to be doing.
I like that.
Something that I always heard growing up was be careful who you talk to because you might just be entertaining angels.
Yeah.
I think that works the other way around too. Gotta guard yourself.
Come on, maximize Monday.
The enemy wants to sift you as weak too. So the sifting process takes a while. That's the reason why a lot of things that we go through, it takes us a while before we find ourselves too far out, too far out to where we can't swim back in. There's a little bit taken, a little piece taken at a time. So it makes sense that a demonic spirit, a lot of times, don't want to just eat you up all at once. It takes a little while to get you way out into the coast to where you can about drown. So we have to be able to guard ourselves from that. And in that, it's so tough because we find ourselves entertaining some demonic sometimes, and and so we have to be able to negotiate that situation and see if there. I don't even know, I do know, but we've all been there, and we've had some of these demonics be to where we've been a part of our lives, and we have to be able to how you say, decipher who they are, and then be able to weed them out.
I like that. I like that. So how do you recognize those things that you need to see? Toxic people are primarily negative people, and they look for an opportunity to dominate. A toxic person may try to gain control in your life when you are visibly down. There are some people that are waiting for something negative to happen to you. There are two reasons why. First, they do not know your whole life. And second, they resent the favor of God on your life. Toxic people look for emotional and spiritual opportunities to dominate your thinking. Most toxic people are spiritually sensitive, and if you are going through a faith test, they see that as an opportunity to influence you over to their way of thinking, and they become the answer to your spiritual situation. So toxic people like to capitalize on your vulnerability, meaning they exploit your weakness. Toxic people will compete with God in your life. So let me ask you guys, in your opinion, what are some strategies that you use during these moments when you are vulnerable so toxic people cannot insert themselves in your life?
Ooh, one of the main things I do, if I know I am in a weakened state, I stay away from the things. The first thing, I stay away from the things that will distract me and tempt me.
Yeah.
Because usually when you're in a faith test and things are intense, you want to relieve the pressure.
Right.
Relieve the fight that you're feeling and just be normal for a second.
Right.
So, stay away from the things that distract me and the things that tempt me, but I also stay close to those who I trust and those who will keep me accountable. Because it's in those moments that we need them the most to pour into us. And as many pastors have said, and I think Bishop may have said it too, I change people's names in my phone. I have trouble 1, trouble 2, setback 1. Those different things are in there.
What's my name?
Your name is Kevin John.
Just like.
But you have those individuals that may call, and it's funny that it happens in that moment. You may not hear from them for months,
right?
And in the moment where you're going through something and you're waiting on God, here comes someone that you wouldn't expect to pop up and have a conversation with you. So those are the 3 things that I typically do. And then always, of course, stay prayed up and word up, because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
As you're fighting the fight of faith.
Most definitely. And since this is Dad's pack up, I'm gonna read the question over. I said, what strategies do you use during those moments when you are vulnerable so toxic people cannot insert themselves in your life? Since they're like predators. They like to prey on you when they see you weak or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I tend not to share what I'm going through, because if I'm telling you how I'm feeling and I know that you're a toxic person, I know that that's giving you, that's feeding you, and you're actively going to drain me, So I tend to go into, anytime I'm in a vulnerable space, I tend to invert and just take some time to just be by myself. And
right.
Yeah.
I like that. Sister Maya, Reverend Waters.
I agree with everything that's been said. Start there. Pastor Nick and I were talking earlier during Maximize Monday about how Satan, the enemy, tempted Christ in one of his most weakest, vulnerable moments in life. And in that situation, he had to speak against whatever Satan was saying to him. So I think it's important that we, be strategic in our words and speaking into our lives or whatever the situation may be when we're in those moments where we're being attacked by whomever the enemy. And like Deacon Antoine said, it's important to read your Bible. I know it's one of those things that we might not, want to do all the time, but it's a weapon And we have it at our disposal to use in situations like this. So.
Nah, she's
Come on, Minister LeBeau. That's Minister LeBeau. Come on, Minister LeBeau.
That's it right there. She said it. I mean, basically, Jesus spoke. The words he spoke was Bible. Each time, the 3 times, it was quotes from biblical standing. So it was Bible. So that's it. She dropped the mic on that. That's it.
She dropped the mic. And anybody in the comments, I want you guys.
I had too much soda today. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
You guys answer the question. I mean, answer question or ask us questions as well, or post your comments about any parts of the sermon. Okay, we want you guys to engage with us. All right. So people that are toxic, who we love, we try harder instead of realizing the situation is not good for you. Once your heart gets in it and once your sexuality gets in it, your judgment is thrown right over the cliff.
Well,
we let toxic people cross so many other boundaries and think that you do not have a limit. Panel, why do we allow people that we love to cross so many boundaries?
Well, it's a given. It's in the question. We love them.
That is.
So, and for someone that you love, you sacrifice a lot. You give them a lot of chances. You suffer for the things that you allow them to do, and until you get tired enough, as my grandmother says. We say we tired all the time, tired of this, tired of that, but until you're tired enough to change it, to stay okay, enough is enough. Then you'll have those change moments. We see it with God all the time in the Bible. He allowed things to go on for a certain amount of time, and then he was like, okay, that's enough. we're gonna put this in place. We're gonna have this in place. I'm gonna send this person. Ultimately, until he sent Jesus. It was God intervening on our behalf and other, all throughout history, and then he sent the ultimate intervener, and that's Christ, to stop all the nonsense. But that's the reason why we allow him. We love him. And if we didn't love him, we wouldn't allow it. Think about it. If you ain't love nobody, allow them to do all the things that you love ones do. Absolutely not.
I also think that what he said was important. Like the intimacy part of it. Like when you're speaking about a partner, when and that doesn't necessarily have to mean sex. I love that he said sexuality and he said sex, because a lot of people aren't open to talking about sex in church, and I think that is something that needs to get discussed so people don't get falsehood out in the world. You get what you need, but so just getting it, like when you're intimate with somebody, like that can sway you and sway your decision making, and have you wanting to keep that person around and you're tying yourself and willing to put yourself through things that you wouldn't normally find yourself in, situations you wouldn't normally find yourself in. And has you looking back, or have you once you release from that person, or have you looking back going I did this, or I allowed that, or I allow that person to treat me like such and such, so it's that intimacy that you can have with someone can really alter and influence.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Good.
What was that? What was the last part again?
Why do we allow people that we love to cross so many boundaries?
Oh, gotcha. No. I think what everybody said is so true. I'm thinking about Aunt Flo again. From last
Aunt Flo.
I think I forgot her name, but it might be her again. It's been in your family for a long time, and she's gotten a lot of leeway. And I think the love part of it is the biggest thing. But we still have to, like I said last week, have to set those boundaries with her. But I think she's part of everybody's family, that she's got away with a lot of toxicity. That somebody has to say something. And I think the way you carry yourself, like I said last week, after a while, after you set those boundaries, she'll be less likely to treat you like she treated other people, because you raise that standard of who you are and what you're going to tolerate from this individual. So,
like that. Toxic people want you to adapt to their behavior and their spiritual beliefs. even though they know that they know their behavior is destructive to themselves. Sometimes toxic people do not love you for your benefit, but they're in control of you. The spirit loves learning where other people's wounds are and loves leaving you with wounds that are based on their words and their actions. They get joy out of hurting you because of the hurt they have experienced in their own lives. Bishop stated that demons are different, and most demons seem to be appetite driven. This toxic spirit is more smooth, diplomatic, courageous, and apparently kind. Toxic people act nice because they are not nice, and when you find out that they are not nice is when you don't agree with their toxicity. Toxic people are under the control of jealousy, hatred, and seduction.
Not seduction.
So, panel, what was your initial thoughts about this? That toxic people are under the control of jealousy, hatred, and seduction.
Makes sense.
I,
It does. I mean, those three emotions or spirits, however we want to qualify them right now in this moment, you know, those are the foundations of toxic behavior. You know, if you're jealous of someone, you're going to do things to one up them, you know, or to lower them down so that you feel up. If you hate someone, you're going to do things that's proven that you hate them, you know. It takes a lot of thought, you know, a lot of, as Bishop said, a lot of planning, you know, especially if they're like, okay, how can I get in with them to disrupt what's going on, you know. And then the crazy part that I think Bishop nailed, and I believe you're going to hit it at some point, is that sometimes they're unaware of what they're really being controlled by.
Anybody else?
He said,
so to let go of a toxic person, you have to have a God strategy. The first thing that Bishop tells us to do is to pray and ask God for the mindset, the discernment, and the way to move them from a place of influence in your life. You have to understand that toxic people demand an audience, and when you cannot get through normal behavior, they up their emotional impact and presentation to get the audience that they want. The reason why they need an audience is simply because they are false teachers, influencing your emotions and trying to get your attention. If you resist that spirit, they will flee from you. Resistance will defeat persistence. The second thing that you have to do after you pray is confront the toxic person. Toxic people hate confrontation because confrontation is a biblical strategy. Toxic people only stand on their words when their words are not confronted. We learned in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, to take 2 or 3 people with you so every word may be established in the process of confronting them, because toxic people cannot be depended upon to stand on what they said or done. In other words, they are liars. So let's talk about this God strategy, right? You know, you definitely have to pray first. Got to stay prayed up wherever you go with it, whoever you're dealing with, right? But what got me was the whole confrontation part. I know we talked about confrontation in the beginning of this stream, but I just want to bring it back because Bishop talked about it as being the second thing, being confrontational. So what do you think people need to prepare for themselves for the confrontation? Because we know that we need to take 2 or 3 with us with us when we go confront those. But what else would you add to that piece of the confrontation when it comes to confronting a toxic person?
I think you need to be to make sure that you are prepared for whatever you're going to receive back. Because just because you're in a different place and you're ready to communicate in a healthy way, you're ready to tell them your boundaries and share with all of the things that you want and that you require, and express how they've been toxic to you. I think being prepared on the other end of what they may say, and also how I would say how you have been toxic to them as well. So like making sure that it's when you do confront, it's not a bash fest for that person. It's not like a you've done this, you did this, like be ready to take accountability for where you may have fallen short, but also like just be prepared for actual communication and to check the person or people or in your tone, in the manner of what you say.
That's good. That's good. I think you also, you definitely do have to be aware, because when you do have that conversation, that confrontation with that person, there may be things that you demonstrated that were toxic, that added to their toxicity, or you both are toxic and you just blew up, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great, being aware of that and having accountability. I love that, Sister Des. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think it's important how you go into it. So I definitely agree with Sister Des when it comes to being prepared, not in the sense of thinking or knowing that they're going to give you an apology or something like that, because you can be vastly disappointed, and that can turn things in a whole other direction. But I think it's also important that you go in there with a level head and not so much on the defensive,
right?
Making sure you're keeping an even tone, like that sort of thing. Because if you're going there already on level 10, I feel like that's setting you up for trouble.
Yes. Ooh, anybody else want to add?
I think especially if the person is a liar in the first place. The reason why you're coming to them with 2 to 3 witnesses, because we need to establish the fact that what you said wasn't true. And what you said, it didn't add anything to anyone's life, I guess you would say. So that's why we bring a witness there in the first place. We need to clear the air, and we need to make sure that everyone understands that you are not truthful in none of your ways. So, so that's why we bring in the witnesses, so we can get the truth out. So I think that's the big establishment of that. And yes, it might be some things they might say on the other end, but recognizing they're a liar in the first place is the whole meaning of the conversation. Because whatever they said, whatever they did, it was important enough for us to come to the round table per se and be able to establish the truth. And so if it's important, it doesn't matter what else is said. We need to establish the truth in this regard. You lied, right? And so that's finalized. This was not truthful, and let's move on. And so the witnesses will be able to know that and carry out that message. So, because at some point you went to them and talked to them personally. That's why the second time you come to them with the witnesses, to let them know this is not.
That's so true. And something that I'm learning the older I get is that you have to be okay with not expecting apology from everyone. Sometimes you will never get that, and sometimes you have to learn that when dealing with a toxic person or someone, they may never be able to be accountable, like Sister Des says, be accountable for their actions or things they've done. You have to learn how to release that and be okay with not receiving if you get an apology or if you don't. You have to learn how to be okay with that and move on. Because sometimes what we do is harper that stuff in, and we'll be like, oh, they did this, they didn't apologize for this, this, that, and the third, and it's like a fire. You keep adding more wood to it, and it keeps just burning inside of you and building. So that's one thing that I'm learning the older I get, that not everyone's going to apologize. Somebody, we're going to say something.
And I was going to say, I mean, that's part of the title for this, is letting go. Like, you're not always going to get a resolution into things. And I know that's something that I've struggled with, because, especially for me, when it comes to there being a judgment on my character, that's that's hard for me to let go. But you just got to do it.
Yeah, that's so good. Anybody else want to add on that?
I think that's the part where the Lord has to be able to fight that battle for you, because we can't resolve everything, and we would love to do it, because sometimes by any means necessary, I'd love to do it, but some things we just can't do it, and so He has to be able to fight that battle and for us.
Right. So to summarize Luke chapter 15, there is a sheep, a coin, and a son, which is the parable of lost things. The sheep is rebellious and wanders away because rebellion feels like adventure at first until you realize you place yourself in danger. The coin does not know it's lost. It is lost, and it has lost its power to perform its function. This is because it is a part of 10 coins and does not know that it has lost part of its authority by being lost. However, the son is a little different because he makes a decision. He is rebellious and he goes to his parents and says he is leaving. The text reveals that they often end up alone and isolated because they feel because they will not serve, unite, nor participate because they have to have the audience and do not care about the wake of destruction that they leave behind them. Their own strategies must cause them to wind up in a severe place before they finally come to themselves. To let go, you have to pray, confront, make sure the truth is established, whether they want to believe it or not. Understand that they are lost and don't know that they are lost, and you must be patient and wait until their decision causes hardship to start the transformation, because conversation never works on toxic people. that ending, that so, like I say, each and every week.
You ready, Des?
This is just a little piece of the amazing word that we are fed every Sunday morning. I encourage you guys to please go back and watch this. It's a great discussion, a great conversation to have, especially during this time of during this time, where a lot of things, like Bishop said a couple weeks ago, a lot of hearts are being audited during this time. Mm-hmm. So this is the best time. We're in November, December, last month of 2020, going to 2021 with that spirit of letting people go that's not good for you and your assignment. We encourage you guys to go back, share the word, start a conversation. And if you have any questions or comments on it, the best time to ask those questions or, post those comments is when you see Bishop and Pastor Nick on live, the dynamic duo. Ask them the questions. I'm telling you, it's going to bounce off one, go to the other. Boop, boop, boop. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So if you have any questions or, comments, use that time. That's why they're on live.
Yep.
Time to ask those questions. Did the panel want to have any final words about this third installment of letting go of toxic people?
I was going to have a comment on the last question, but
go ahead.
Everybody already did it. But the one thing that I did adopt, and Reverend Waters knows this from being in class with Bishop, is I adopted his method before he preaches to pray yourself hot, yourself clear, and let yourself go.
I like that.
Praying so that your spirit man is where it needs to be, thinking yourself clear so that your mind isn't cluttered by emotion, and then letting yourself go. So at that point you're not holding back from the conversation.
Right.
Because sometimes we'll be a little bit more timid because we're worried about the individual's feelings. But when it comes time to handle business, we need to be a little bit more like letting ourselves go to have the conversation that really needs to be had. Right. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Love it.
I would say, like in the spirit of letting things go and letting people go that are toxic, it will hurt. There will be times where you feel bad about letting certain situations go and letting certain people go. Know that it is okay. Know that you are going to get through it. Know that God has you. And the reason those people had to go is because more people need to come in.
Yeah.
To be room.
There we go.
For more people to come in. So
there we go.
He's not telling you to drop them for no reason.
Right.
Right.
So, time to make some room.
Yeah.
You gotta make room.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I would agree with that too. And also use it as an opportunity to grow closer to God, to kind of fill in that area that you had to let that person go from. and let in growing in your relationship, let that heal you too. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Real quick, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I feel like the soundtrack for this whole time could be People.
Yes.
The album by Jonathan McReynolds. Like, listen to that album literally. Like, he has a song called Moving On that will, like...
That's my song.
Oh, my God. You'll get through. You'll get through.
Awesome. Rev Waters, did you want to say any departing words?
I said it all. Basically, removing the toxic and adding in the health. You know, adding in something that can consume that part of your life. That so the toxic people, remove them, but add in something that can build you up as a person also. Because too many toxic people mean that somehow you are a magnet for some people that are toxic. So let's remove them and let's work on something with us individually also.
That's it.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna get right into the announcement. But before I start, I'm gonna have Sister Maya come on and share a special announcement about tomorrow. Go ahead, Sister Maya.
All right, so it's November, so we are in our Catch the Fire Thanksgiving season. We are starting things off early with a giving on Tuesday. The Croc Center was kind enough to give us an additional 200 turkeys that have to be given out on Tuesday. Tomorrow.
Oh, wow. 200.
Yeah.
Wow.
200 turkeys. So, of course, we can't store them. So, you guys got to come tomorrow. 200 people.
Do you have to register for that?
You don't have to register. You just have to show up. First come, first serve. But it's going to be held right behind the church. So 1115 Gibbsboro Road here in Lindenwold, New Jersey.
Here. So Croc Center is going to give it to us at the church.
Right. So that's why they need to come on Tuesday and pick them up.
Wow. If you're in need, please get that word out.
So let people know. Let people know who are in the area to come pick up the turkeys. Again, we only have 200 for Tuesday, but we are also still having our usual Catch the Fire event on Saturdays, on this Saturday coming up at Lindenwold High School, but then also at the Croc Center in Camden. Now, if you are going to go pick up your turkeys at the Croc Center, you do have to register beforehand. You can do that by calling this number. It is 856-379-4867. Again, 856-379-4867. So if you are going to go pick up your turkeys at the Croc Center, please call that number to register in advance.
Awesome. And Sister Maya, do we have a time for tomorrow? What time to have people show up?
People can start coming at 1:00 p.m.
Awesome. So guys, we want you, please. We love our Catch the Fire initiative, the backpack, back to school, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So we are in our second one right now. Let's just do God's work, okay? So if you know someone that's in need of a turkey, please invite them out for Tuesday or on Saturday, but Tuesday especially, come get that turkey, right?
Right. And I also want to say, sorry, I don't know if you're going to say this, but there's still time to donate.
We think alike.
Okay, that's why we friends. But there's still time to give to Catch the Fire so that we can go out and get more turkeys for Saturday. You can go to the Bethany website at gotobethany.com/giving. We have a Catch the Fire on Giveify. You can also do a text to give. If you text CTF to 28950. I got the number this time. You can give that way as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sister Maya. So starting tomorrow, we have a daddy talk at 1 p.m. with Bishop on Bishop's page, as well as tomorrow evening, the Forever Fire Link Couples Ministry at 7 p.m. All right.
Yes.
Is it 7 or 7:30? My bad.
I'll go 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
Okay.
7 p.m. Forever Fire.
Listen, if you love Rev Waters and all the knowledge that he drops and everything, catch him tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Also, Wednesday, the word impact. Y'all see my W's? Okay. Our incredible word impact with our incredible leadership with Bishop David G. Evans and Pastor Nicholas A. Smith. When they get together, it's I call them the dynamic duo. Deacon Antoine calls them Shaq and Kobe. They are incredible when they get together, and Bible study during this time with them together up on stage has been phenomenal. So please tune in, share it, encourage someone else to tune in, and also share it with your family and friends. All right. Also on Thursdays at 7 p.m., we have a small business panel. All right. Like I say to you guys each week, these panels are structured to help us stay connected and help you level up during this time. All right. So please tune in to the small business panel. And then also on Friday, we have a panel that's going to be called The Outlook at 7 p.m. as well. Sister Maya, can you give us a little bit more information about that? What we have in store about that?
So it's going to be a little bit of everything, just talking about some of the current events that we have going on right now.
Awesome.
You guys like how Bishop and Pastor Nick talk about, such things on Point. This is the same concept, but just from our viewpoint, not in like a pastoral leadership
I love it.
way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
We love it. We love it. We love our church. Our church is always doing something awesome. And then also with Catch the Fire on Saturday, we have On Point Radio at 9, drive-in service, weather permitted at 12 p.m. with the emergent worship Saturday evening, as well as on Sunday, all of our encounter services streaming with the 12 o'clock drive-in service with 10 Times Better Man series pre and post discussion. And then Monday, you see Maximize Monday with Pastor Nick and our amazing social media director, Minister LeBou. And then you're back with us at 5:30 for the recap. So Bethany family, we love you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, tune in with us. Oh, go ahead.
Before we go, can we give a special shout out to Dana? Because she said that she actually gave for the Catch a Fire event.
Awesome.
So thank you, Dana.
Wonderful.
We appreciate you.
Awesome. We appreciate you, Dana. And shout out to all those that have already given their donations. We appreciate it. Like I say, how these panels would not be great without you guys. Our Catch the Fires would not be as amazing as they are if it wasn't for your contributions and your donations. So thank you guys so much for that. Panel, I love you guys. Great discussion. You guys bring in each week. All right, Bethany family, be blessed. Stay tuned to all the content that's streaming this week, and we will see you next Monday.
All right, see you then.
Bye.